I'll call to order the meeting of the Shawnee City Commissioners, March 19, 2012. Call roll, please.
Stevens. Sims.
Here.
Harrod.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Collier.
Here.
Winteringer.
Here.
Smith. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, thank you. The invocation tonight will be given by Reverend Amy Perkins from United Presbyterian Church, followed by the flag salute. All who wish to, please rise.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we lift up our hearts with gratitude that we are here tonight to do the business of this city. We pray that all voices will be heard and all opinions considered. We pray that our leaders govern with this will of your discernment. We pray this in the name of your Son and for his sake. Amen.
Attention, position, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Perkins. Item number 1, consider approval of agenda. Anybody?
So.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Harrod.
Second.
And a second by Vice Mayor Collier. Call roll, please.
Harrod.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2, consider approval of consent agenda. Motion to approve by Commissioner Harrod and a second by Commissioner Sims. Call roll, please.
Harrod.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 3, citizens' participation. Okay. Item number 4, Mayor's Proclamation, Arbor Week, March 25th to the 31st, 2012. And I think James Bryce is going to accept this. All right, a City of Shawnee Proclamation. No one was up here before. Whereas Arbor Day is celebrated nationally to encourage Americans to maintain and replenish our country's vast forests, orchards, and woodlands. And whereas in March 1982, Oklahoma declared a full Arbor Week to better recognize the value of tree planting as well as to avoid the harsh planting conditions of late winter. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, reduce heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the City of Shawnee has been named as a 2011 Tree City USA community by an Arbor Day Foundation, this is the 10th year Shawnee has received this national recognition. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, contribute immeasurably to our wonderful city of which we are most proud. Now therefore, I, Linda Peterson, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of March 25th to 31st, 2012 as Arbor Week in the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, dated this 19th day of March, 2012. Any comments about trees or when some might be available or anything? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll say just a little bit. We were planning to give away some trees this year, but as it comes about, there are no trees to give away this year, so we're not going to be able to, but we'll try again next year.
Okay. All right. Thanks, James. Item number 5. Public hearing and consider an ordinance modifying Section 3-216 of the Shawnee Municipal Code as recommended by the Shawnee Planning Commission. So I'll open the public hearing, and this is the public hearing on billboards. Does anyone wish to speak? Come on up.
My name is Tom Terry, and for about the last 20 years, I've worked with volunteers trying to beautify the city of Shawnee. In fact, last Saturday, a week ago, 16 of us worked for several hours on Main Street, on Bell Street, all the way from the auditorium to Main Street to improve the landscaping there and get it ready for spring. We do this because we want to make the city more attractive for our city, but also for our visitors and for prospective business owners. We would urge you to continue the moratorium against having signs because we feel that they distract from the beauty of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Linda Malley, and I, of course, have not lived in this town as long as Tom has, but I have worked with him very closely. And consequently, it gives me great pleasure to hear him emphasize the importance of no more billboards. And as I suggested last time, and I will suggest again, all you need to do is drive up and down Kickapoo or Harrison to see what it looks like, to see the black billboards about, and we don't need these. We need to make this a more beautiful place to live for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is David Romberg, representing a company that's called Billboard Outdoor Advertising. I have been a native of this area my entire life, and I care a lot about Shawnee, the way it looks and about its beauty. And I think that's very important. But also, I think that billboards are very important to the city of Shawnee. And we don't need just to plant trees and flowers, but we need to plant seeds of prosperity. Billboards are those seeds. Billboards will bring prosperity to Shawnee. They'll advertise and promote it. They'll help make businesses successful, and they'll bring hope and opportunity, and that's what we need. Shawnee is a wonderful community. It's got a lot to offer. It's got a lot of great people in it. But as one of its citizens, I feel from time to time that we've had great community, we've had great leadership within our city, but our community has let the city down. We haven't supported progress when it needs to be supported. I watched Main Street when it was so prosperous that you couldn't get a parking place. And as time went along in the 1970s, it just almost dried up and went away. But there were opportunities for people on Main Street to get together and talk and strategize, think of ways to help make the area more prosperous, but there wasn't a meeting of the minds. But the advertising is a key ingredient in making businesses successful. It's more important in this day and age than it's ever been. Technology is moving so fast. Businesses can't rely on the yellow pages like they used to. They can't rely on the newspaper because there's been a merging of technology between internets and cell phones and cable TV. We've got our choice of 200 channels, and when somebody is looking for a product, it's almost impossible for a company to target a specific audience. Well, billboards, they fill this void. They are one of the only true forms of advertising left, that when people drive down the street, they see it. And they represent our city. They represent our businesses. They promote growth. And I do understand that billboards need to be attractive. They need to be constructed right. And companies that want to do business in Shawnee, want to put a billboard up, should be subject to not just basic rules and regulations, but the strongest. We at this city should demand the finest, the best, the most attractive. And we should work with companies that are willing to do that. I appreciate your time.
Thank you
very much.
Anyone else? Okay. I'll close the public hearing. The ordinance that is in our packet to consider is basically a ban on billboards. That's what.
There's two in there.
Well, there's a recommended one. That's what I was just discussing with the city attorney. The ordinance that we have in our packet for consideration under this is to ban billboards. And that's the one that we can vote on. If the city commission would like to do something different, then that's not an ordinance that we have before us, and it's not an ordinance that had been heard before the planning commission, is my understanding, and would need to be heard, would need to be crafted and heard before the planning commission before it could come to us.
We have a kind of a parliamentary / open meeting / municipal code conflict here. There is a staff recommendation that was, or not a recommendation, a staff prepared option that was presented at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission really didn't discuss the specifics very much. They heard, the same kinds of things y'all have heard, and determined to really not consider that option and to go ahead and send you this one. If the problem we get into is if we've closed the public hearing, we have an ordinance to vote on. If that ordinance passes, then we're done. If it doesn't pass, then staff's going to need your instruction to do an ordinance, and I'm reluctant to do that ordinance without the public hearing that our code requires. Might figure out a way to, if instead you look at the ordinance that's in front of you, and instead of voting it up or down, instruct staff to come back to you with an ordinance in line with the recommendations. I think we can do that without another public hearing. The other thing I want to remind you, there's just 5 of you. It's going to take 4 votes, not 3, whatever you do tonight.
Is the moratorium by ordinance, or is that?
Right now you have a policy setting a, quote, temporary moratorium, which is coming up on 11 years. And so it's kind of, we need to either formalize that moratorium, lift it and do nothing, or
been here. I thought we'd already been here.
Hence the request from from us to the Planning Commission to craft a more restrictive ordinance on billboards. Yes, I had that discussion with Justin myself. Regardless of how I voted previously, I mean, my understanding was that was the directive to the Planning Commission.
Well,
and we don't have we don't have the completion of that directive.
Well, and you don't necessarily have to have it. I mean, they were given that option and they chose to not do that. If your pleasure is to discuss with staff the option that's in there and not vote on an ordinance tonight, but instruct staff to bring you back an ordinance more in line with what's the alternate that's in your packet, and defer this, you wouldn't have another public hearing, but then at your next meeting, you could vote. But it gets kind of difficult when we have more than one ordinance on the table. It's just,
Well,
it gets
Kurt,
awkward.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we say we make it continue with a moratorium, so what are we gonna do about these 55-foot trailers sitting around here with signs on the side of them, parked like at Nick's Nest and out on 177 and other places? I mean, I'd rather have the billboards than I had those trailers sitting around. And we went through this with the CPN out here on Hardesty and 177. So I mean,
I understand.
Yeah.
but, and I heard something. I was listening. I don't just kind of perk my ears up and listen to Good Morning America the other morning, and they was talking about the billboards. I guess maybe they're talking about the ones in New York City. There's more people pay attention to those than they do read the newspaper. So the advertisement on the billboards is a much higher return rate than for for a business than it is in the news for running an ad in the newspaper. So I was shocked, and you just kind of hear that on the side, and then you start paying attention to it. And I didn't hear the exact figures or anything like that, but I don't know whether it's talking about the ones on Broadway in New York City or whether it's talking about the ones on Interstate 40 out here or what it is. But that's kind of a two-sided sword. Are we going to have to come up with an ordinance? If we do away with the billboards, we're going to have to come up with an ordinance about I think they're 53-foot trailer vans sitting around with all painted up and everything. Of course, they don't have lights on them. All you can do is hook onto them and move them. They'll move them somewhere else. They get kicked off of that side or whatever. So and I hate to go against it because Tom Terry's a good friend of mine, and he's done a lot of work for the city and everything else, and I hate not to vote with Tom. I mean, he does an outstanding job for the city of Shawnee beautification, and I hate to vote against him. But I'm not sure that we're serving the public's purpose by making a moratorium on it. If we have a restriction, and that's what I thought we'd already asked for, and if we have a restriction on the billboards, I'm not saying put hundreds of them up in town, but
well, Commissioner, you're exactly right. The commission instructed the planning commission to take a look at this ordinance, and according to our local code, like our city attorney said, that's what they were supposed to do. They chose not to do that. So they've really kind of put the city commission in a spot, because our codes say that they're supposed to fully vet codes that end up on the books regarding to our planning and zoning type activities, and maybe the message wasn't sent to the planning commission strong enough that that's what commissioners want.
Well, I don't know.
But you're absolutely right. This is exactly the same
serious
position
about
we were in a
Yeah,
month ago.
because I started asking.
Some foot floats sitting down here. You got one on Highland and Harrison. It's, I don't want to mention the company, but you got one same company out on 177. And, you can put those things all over town. I don't guess there's anything against it. Find a place to put it.
We're working on that. We actually discussed that today.
All right. But again, we're going to have to come up with something, ordinance opposed to that.
Well, one alternative would be, I know you have materials in your packet that was something the staff put together. If you wanted to hear from Justin about that and give an instruction on that rather than voting on this ordinance, you could do that. But it's hard until you vote. It's hard to. It's just gotten difficult. It's hard to work. I've never quite been through it exactly this way, where we kind of chasing ourselves.
Of course, my point is, I tend to own property all over town. Well, we had a business, a property on Harrison that we wasn't operating there anyhow, so we put a Harris Electric, Miss Lizzie's rental sign out on front. We had to move it because we didn't have an office there. Yeah, we've got, like I said, these places, different signs. We got one down on Kickapoo. The roofing company doesn't have a business there at that vacant lot, but it's been there for 3 or 4 years. So, whatever.
I'd like to hear staff's comments.
And I don't mean to be picking on Justin. I'm sorry, Justin.
You get the hairy ones, don't you?
Well, I read the minutes from I saw the minutes and everything from the planning commission. So
Yeah, and this,
I understand.
yeah, and this is obviously a controversial and delicate topic. Just quickly, Commissioner, about your point regarding the trailers and the signs on wheels, I guess you could call them. We do have an existing ordinance on that. It may need to be strengthened, and so we're aware of those situations that you mentioned, and it's my opinion that those are not legal situations there, but our ordinance probably needs to be strengthened. So look for that in the future, specifically on that.
Well, I mentioned that, you know, I had one of my trailers sitting at the sign company to get a sign put on it, and I got in trouble, so. You know, I can't win.
Included in your packet was not only the Planning Commission recommendations, but an additional staff memorandum and then a set of draft regulations. You'll note in that staff recommendation and findings that the recommendation of the Planning Commission was to review the draft code and to defer action at the Planning Commission level so that the code could be vetted more completely, and so that we could take testimony and continue finalizing the code. And so it's not ready for you. If you like this option, it's the reason it's not in ordinance form tonight is because it really hasn't been appropriately vetted. It's also in its current form very, very restrictive. And so if you're inclined to prefer something less restrictive, then certainly it needs to be modified. And going through line item by line item, of course, isn't very efficient. So from a staff perspective, just getting a better take on the commission's preferences would be helpful, so that we can do our work to get you a better copy. But in the Planning Commission's review, and I wish I had some Planning Commission members here tonight, but my opinion of what they essentially did was they looked at the draft ordinance, and because it was so restrictive, they felt it was kind of a de facto ban on billboards anyway, and so they might as well recommend the previous recommendation to you, and so that's what they did.
However, this draft that you have, and I guess that would be staff's recommendation, has a lot more language in it. It talks about how signs shall be maintained. It talks about if they don't have, if they're vacant for a certain period of time, what happens to them. It talks about inspection procedures. It talks about fees for current ones too, I would guess, an annual, I mean, even if it's a nominal fee, just to keep track of it.
Right.
And so all of those kind of things too, did the Planning Commission discuss that? I mean, even if they thought this was just as restrictive and nothing else was going to come because there's not anything in the right zoning with enough space between it, not that you couldn't put up any new ones, did that language not appeal to them at all?
It appealed to them in the sense of what it could clarify and what it could mean for existing signs, and they did talk about it quite a bit actually in some detail, and their thoughts on that were that basically staff could work up an ordinance specifically addressing those existing signs and existing situations should an outright ban be initiated.
Okay.
We also, just for your information, in case you didn't see it in the report, we did collect some interesting data on off-premise signs. We found, the staff report says 45, but we found one that we missed, so there's approximately 46 billboards located throughout city limits. They're generally in good condition. Most of them are steel or non-wood construction. There are varied heights and varied sizes, of course, with the largest ones tend to be along Interstate 40, and then some smaller ones as small as 55 square feet also through town. And so there's basically about 3 primary sizes. The very, very large ones are about 672 square feet. Those are principally along I-40 and 177. And then the other sizes range in about 55 square feet up to about 240 square feet. You'll notice the restrictive code that staff drafted, the maximum allowed sign was 250 square feet, which is
A lot smaller.
which is probably about the size of most existing signs in the core of the city. It's much smaller than the ones along I-40, of course, but for most of them in town, it's still a fairly large sign. It's larger than most business signs in town.
And what was the separation on your recommended one versus the current one?
The recommended, and I hesitate to necessarily even call it a staff recommendation. It was a draft code that was designed to be restrictive, because I think it's easier to go, when you're looking at a draft code, it's easier to go less restrictive than to start light and go more restrictive. So, but it severely restricted billboards in several manners. It limited it to industrial zones and 2 commercial zoning districts. It required that they be spaced 1,000 feet from other off-premise signs and 500 feet from any residentially zoned property. And when you start looking at the existing map, which is in your packet, of where the existing signs are, and you start thinking, okay, 1,000 feet from each sign, you start thinking about what residentially zoned property is, it would realistically probably allow a handful of signs, of additional signs in the community, probably north of I-40 on industrial land, and perhaps 1 or 2 along Kickapoo Street. Harrison is fairly built out, and with the size standards, probably only looking at perhaps 1, maybe 2 additional signs along Harrison south of I-40.
I'm trying to get to the map.
It's on
Here it
page,
is.
43.
How many applications or how much interest in your tenure in 3 years have you had for?
We get a couple of inquiries every year, and I'm assuming that we got a lot more when the moratorium was newer. But I think the I don't know how many Mr. Romberg represents. The signs owned by Lamar Company are identified on the signs. So when we did our inventory, we were able to calculate those. And so when you look at the actual companies in town, there's probably only 3 or 4 that own most, if not all, of the signs. And so we don't get a lot of questions because they're used to the answer, because there's only 3 or 4 of them.
Is the signs on I-40, is that a relatively standard size on the interstate?
Yes, and there's additional state law regarding signs within 660 feet of the interstate system,
Right.
and that allots a maximum size, and that's why most billboards that you see along the federal interstate system are roughly the same size, which is about 672 square feet. No idea where they came up with that number, but 672 was deemed the magic maximum number.
So is there room on I-40 to add any under your proposed that would be in the city limits?
I don't believe so. Not on property regulated by the city. If it's federal, interstate, or state property, though, our regulations don't apply. So that, but under our regulations, no, I don't believe there would be room. there's so many different approaches to this. Of course, one ordinance approach, you could look at specific corridors, and we could authorize additional off-premise sign permits along specific sections of streets or corridors through town. What we did is we surveyed Oklahoma communities. We looked at least 6 within the metropolitan area of Oklahoma City, and then also looked at other regulations throughout the country. But so what you have before you is pretty consistent with regulations that would be found like in Midwest City, Moore, or the city of Norman, where they do allow some construction, but it's very tightly controlled.
Your proposed one took out the zoning code of A1 and allowed C5 and CP only. Well, I1, I2, and I3. What's an example of C5?
I don't have a zoning map in front of me. We don't have a lot of C5. It tends to be more of a shopping center type development. It would probably be somewhat rare to put up an off-premise sign there anyway, because you're going to have a kind of a large marquee sign like you might at Shawnee Mall or a large shopping complex, and that was also a concern of the Planning Commission's in terms of the zoning classification scheme as proposed by the draft, because their concern is that an applicant could request rezoning of a property and maybe say they're going to construct one thing and then construct a sign instead.
Right.
And so I think it was another reason for their recommendation.
And I was trying to think of how the city grows maybe a little differently than what the plan was. So if something was zoned one way, because before I thought that C3 was in the draft proposal. And, just recently we had before us a proposal for C3 at 45th and Bryan, maybe, which would have, if C3 was in here, it would have put a billboard next to residential, possibly because of the zoning. I mean, just how those things change, where that area 10 years ago looked like it was going to be more commercial, then now it's gone. Swung way over to the residential side, but we could still have something that would come in, and we're thinking that C3 meant one thing, or C5. But if that means a billboard, then that's a concern. Well, it is mine.
500 feet of a
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Depending on how big that C3 property was, though, but it'd be up there.
Well, it could be on a section line that's not open.
Yep.
So of the 45 billboards that you saw, none of them were, all of them were being used and none of them were in bad shape?
They were all in pretty good condition. There was one that we noted as fair that was wooden construction, but condition to a certain extent is in the eye of the beholder too. And there was none that we could, that I guess you could say that we could declare dilapidated in that sense of the word.
Is the one that's not finished yet, it's been laying there for a while, is that outside the city limits? Seemed like I remember one on I-40.
On the north side?
I believe so, yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So on the moratorium, if one's falling down, they come get a building permit to reconstruct it, or how does that work?
On the way the existing code works for all signs is that if it's a non-conforming sign, so one that couldn't be constructed today, and if it's damaged by more than 50%, then you couldn't reconstruct it. So a company can maintain it. If one edge of the frame is bad, they can replace a portion of the frame. But if it suffers catastrophic damage, or it just has years and years of neglect, where it essentially requires a brand new sign and brand new pole and everything, then that's not covered. But most of the time, of course, it's in these companies' best interest to maintain their signs, and I believe that they do that.
How many building permits have you gotten fixing these things?
Most light sign maintenance doesn't require a permit because they're not necessarily doing any structural work. If it's just, painting more often you might get some type of electrical permit if it's going to be lit, and they're going to be doing something electrical to it. But we really don't get a lot of maintenance permits on those signs.
So was the discussion at the Planning Commission more of to recommend a ban and then to come back at a later time and talk about maintenance and if anything were to be unsightly, that there would be a manner in which to handle that, but that would be something that we would do at a later time? And this draft that you have right here talks about whether or not we could add any additional ones, but it also handles the maintenance and the what am I trying to say? What we see, the aesthetics of it, I guess.
Yes,
within reason.
That's correct. I think that's a fair characterization. Yeah, one of the things that we didn't have time to do at the Planning Commission level because they forwarded the recommendation to you immediately is take a harder look at the impact of the draft regulations. For example, we know where the existing signs are. We know we obviously have our zoning designations, and we can create we can do more sophisticated analysis that we can use to determine, with better detail how many new signs can potentially be constructed. That would probably be information that would be useful to you.
Yeah, if you're talking, the draft regulation would only require 3 new signs, and here's the only locations under our current zoning that it would be allowed, that might be one thing. But if it, well, for some of our votes, but if it allowed, 25, that might be a whole different situation.
Mm-hmm. And so I think certainly I defer to the city attorney, but I think one of your options may be to defer action, and staff can do some more research and come back with to you at the next meeting as well.
I think you can defer that with an instruction to bring you additional options, and whether it's a base and then and then I think at some point you've got to decide how you want to massage that in terms of the public and how much research and data you need. It might even be a workshop item. I hate to use the workshop word.
We need to handle this issue. I mean, I do
Yeah.
agree with that, but the other thing, if we don't take action on the ordinance that's before us tonight, and we ask staff to come back with more information, the moratorium is still in place.
The moratorium is still in
Then,
place. I think what you want to ask staff to do is to draft you an ordinance, not just to come back with more information, but to draft an ordinance along the lines of, and then you can begin to tweak the regulations within that ordinance.
Nice to know, like the mayor said, whether we're talking about 20 signs or 5 or 6.
Per year?
Yeah, well, just
Or
At all.
that spots that are available.
at all.
Spots available.
Which is kind of what I thought we did
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
I know.
Well,
But
but
what we have, what the only ordinance we have before us is the ban, and if we bring that up for a vote and the ban doesn't pass, then it's wide open until we do something else.
I'm concerned about the status of your temporary moratorium when you refuse to make it permanent.
Yeah. In all
Or not
honesty.
refuse, but decline. Decline's a
Right.
better verb choice. Decline to make it permanent for whatever. Refuse sounded stubborn. I didn't mean it.
So even if it was repealed, though, those existing signs would stay.
Existing signs
Oh.
stay.
Grandfathered. Okay.
And given their construction for a long time. But the construction of many of them for a long time.
There's mud.
There is not, yeah. Crystal clear.
Well, I'd like to have the additional information and take a look at the draft ordinance, so I'd move we delay or defer the ordinance until we get more information and look at the draft that's proposed.
So instruct staff to create a draft ordinance. I'd second that.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Harrod and a second by Commissioner Smith to defer this motion and to direct staff to come up with an ordinance, compose an ordinance along the lines of what's in our draft here.
Right.
Would that be correct?
Yes.
And, you know, even though, you know, we've closed the public hearings, so because of the interest in this, you probably don't want to defer it indefinitely, but for purposes of kind of keeping folks in the loop, we ought to set a time certain to look at it again, so that they'll know.
Mm-hmm.
Second meeting in April. Can you get there?
Definitely.
Okay.
Basically a month. Okay, so to add defer until the second meeting in April. Okay. If you can do that with some information on approximately how many that might allow under our current zoning, I can agree to consider what you might bring to us. Because again, if it's 3, that's one thing. But and also then that would include all this other language about how we move forward with what we already have. And I think there's a lot of value in that also, instead of having to revisit something else again.
Madam Mayor, if I may, and Justin, if I may step in, we did GPS each of these, take a look at the construction and all that kind of stuff, and we can probably get pretty close to approximating, but one thing I want to caution the commissioners in is if the zoning changes, conditions change, we annex more property, then those regulations would be applicable to other properties and all.
I understand. But, you know, I mean, my vote before was to not just allow lots and lots of billboards to come in, to be added to our city, and I have a concern about that.
Right.
And so I guess now for me, it's are we talking 3 or 30 or whatever, and where they would be located. So I'd be okay with looking at that too, given the interest that we have in this topic and where we might go from here, and be able to settle all of these things, including the maintenance of and everything, all at once, and try to be done with that, and not have to live with this for another 6 months. But, okay, any other comments?
Well, but, you know, the people that are opposed to it, I don't want to really go against them, but I think if there's an opportunity to provide information, then we, you know, we need to do it. And like I say, I know Mr. Terry has done a super great job for the city of Shawnee, and I sure don't want to, I don't want to hurt his feelings or go against him. But anyhow, it's just a different of opinion.
I'm not saying what I'll vote on it when it comes, though.
Well, I'm not in it,
Okay.
but I want to, you know, if they're saying 50 more signs, then I'm not going to say I'm
Yeah.
not going to go
Okay.
with 50 more signs. But if it's a few signs, then it makes more sense.
Might think about it. Okay. Anybody else before I call roll, please?
Harrod,
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, don't forget to put that on our agenda. The
Second
second meeting in April. Thank you.
I made that part of the motion, actually.
Okay, yes, thank you. Okay. Jumping right back to, when I get it. Item number 6. Public hearing and consider an ordinance to rezone property located at 3930 North Kickapoo Street from R1 Single Family Residential to C3 Automotive, Commercial, and Recreation. Case number P06-12, applicant Seminole Ice House, LLC. I'll open the public hearing.
might just interject, Mayor, please. The Planning Commission deferred action on this item. They had some questions for the applicant, and the applicant was not present at the meeting. So I would respectfully request that the commission defer this until April 16th.
Okay.
Make a motion to defer till.
Okay.
Second.
Make a motion, or is it to continue the public hearing to April 16th? Since I opened it.
Yes.
To continue, the motion by Vice Mayor Collier is to continue the public hearing to April 16th meeting, seconded by Commissioner Sims. Was that correct? Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh, it was Winteringer. Let's make it clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was third.
Call roll, please.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item number 7, public hearing and consider an ordinance to rezone property located at the northeast corner of MacArthur and Acme Road from A1 agricultural to C3 automotive, commercial, and recreation, and R3 multifamily. Case number P07-12, applicant E. Allen Cowan II. I'll open the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak to this? Does anybody need a staff report from this?
Is he gonna connect to the existing sewer utilities out there? Is that what they're, I know there's proposing about 50 townhouses.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And both water and sewer are up at the property.
Is the reason that's divided into two groups is because of that oil or gas line or whatever it is that goes across there?
Yes, sir. There is a large pipeline easement through that property.
And only the corner of it's C3, right? Yep.
That's correct. At the corner of MacArthur and Acme.
Yep. I'll close the public hearing. Any other questions of staff, or I'll entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, a motion to approve the zoning by Commissioner Sims,
Second.
and a second by Vice Mayor Collier. I'm going to read the ordinance, please.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry.
Northeast corner of MacArthur and Acme.
Make sure it's
That one.
right. I'm not sure I've been given one. Sorry, we did not have a pregame huddle in this,
Yeah.
coordinating our efforts.
We were all trying to understand the billboard one.
This one.
I don't have
It's not this one, because this is long.
45th.
P07-12. Does that help you at all?
Oh, there it is. Okay. This is an ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, to wit, Tract 1, a part of the southwest quarter of Section 2, Township 10, North, Range 3, east of the Indian Meridian, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, more particularly described as follows: beginning at the southwest corner of southwest quarter, thence north 0 degrees 7 minutes 5 seconds east, a distance of 300 feet, thence south 89 degrees 59 minutes 37 seconds east, a distance of 300 feet, thence south 0 degrees 7 minutes 5 seconds west, a distance of 300 feet, thence north 89 degrees 59 feet 37 seconds west, a distance of 300 feet to the point of beginning, containing 2.066 acres more or less, rezoning said property from A1 agricultural to C3 automotive, commercial, and recreation, and Tract 2, a part of the southwest quarter of Section 2, Township 10 North, Range 3, east of Indian Meridian, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, are particularly described as follows: commencing the southwest corner of said southwest quarter, thence north 0 degrees 7 minutes 5 seconds east, a distance of 300 feet to the point of beginning. thence continuing north 0 degrees 7 minutes 5 seconds east, a distance of 808.80 feet, thence south 89 degrees 59 feet 37 seconds east, a distance of 550 feet, thence south 0 degrees 7 minutes 5 seconds west, a distance of 1108.80 feet, thence north 89 degrees 59 minutes 37 seconds, a distance of 250 feet, thence north 0 degrees 7 minutes 5 seconds east, a distance of 300 feet, thence north 89, 59, 37 west, a distance of 300 feet to the point of beginning, containing 11.934 acres more or less to the city of Shawnee, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, according to Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof, rezoning said property from A1 agriculture to R3 multifamily, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
I suggest that city attorney go out and check those measurements with the
It closes, I can tell from reading it.
Although at the very end, it's from A1 to C3 and R3.
Well, there's two separate
Sections. Okay.
So it's
Okay. I had to listen to the first part about the C3. That one was the R3.
A1 to C3, and the second one
is
A1 to R3.
R3.
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it.
He's saving the
Okay.
corner.
Yeah, right. Hey, call roll, please.
Sims,
Aye.
Collier,
Aye.
Winteringer, Harrod,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I forgot after all that.
Item number 8, public hearing and consider an ordinance to rezone property located at 4650 North Harrison Street from A1 agricultural to C3 automotive, commercial, and recreation. Case number P05-12, applicant TJT Holdings, LC. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to this? It's your opportunity.
Please forgive the blue jeans, it's my rain gear.
Yeah.
Mike Adcock, I represent TJT Holdings, and we're trying to rezone this property to put a office complex out there next to the transfer station. If you've got any non-engineering questions, I'd be glad to answer them if I can.
Okay, thank
That's all I've
you.
got, thanks.
Anyone else wish to speak to this? All right. I'll close the public hearing. Does anyone need any information from staff?
Move to approve.
All right, a motion to approve the zoning request by Commissioner Sims.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Winteringer. Read the ordinance, please.
A little problem with the beginning of it. Let me see if I can get it. I got O's where I need zeros, so I'm trying to figure out how many I have. Okay. Attractive land, I'm sorry. Start over here. An ordinance concerning the zone classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, to wit, attractive land described as commencing at the southeast corner of the southeast quarter of Section 31, Township 11 North, Range 4 east of the Indian Meridian, Potawatomi County, Oklahoma, thence north 0 degrees 1 minute 41 seconds east, a distance of 498.76 feet to the point of beginning. Thence north 89 degrees 58 minutes 19 seconds west, a distance of 348 feet. Thence north 0 degrees 1 minute 41 seconds east, a distance of 520.24 feet. Thence south 89 degrees 58 minutes 19 seconds east for a distance of 348 feet. Thence south 0 it's typo. It's
89, 58, 19.
yeah, there's a typo on the orders. Am I at 500, if I'm at the first 520 feet, am I at north 0 degrees 1 minute 41 seconds east, distance 520.24 feet, thence south 89 degrees 58 minutes 19 seconds east, a distance of 348 feet, then south 0 degrees 1 minute 41 seconds west for a distance of 520.24 feet, to the point of beginning according to the recorded plat thereof, rezoning said property from A1 agricultural to C3 automotive, commercial, and recreation, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
It looks like what you read was from the public
There's a typo
or the posting.
in the title. It looks to me like down in the body it's okay, but it was in the title.
So
If
you
it's
read
okay
it
in the body, we can fix the title.
correct to what was posted?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Call roll, please.
Sims.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. We will move to item number 9. Consider approval of preliminary and final plats for Bodard Addition Section 1 located at the northwest corner of 45th Street and Harrison Street. Case number S05-12 and S06-12, applicant TJT Holdings LC. Preliminary and final plats.
Move we approve.
Do we have conditions on that?
7.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
With the conditions.
All right, a motion to approve by Commissioner Harrod contingent on the 7 conditions, seconded by Vice Mayor Collier. Anyone else? Any comments or questions? Call roll, please.
Harrod.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 10, consider agreement with the Citizen Potawatomi Nation to provide funding for the southbound lanes of the James W. Allen Bridge along Gordon Cooper across the North Canadian River. We have in our packet a copy of the agreement. I had a question of John earlier that there was, I misunderstood what our cost would be also for this, since the bridge evaluation had $2.1 million worth of repairs.
Right, Mayor. This is what the bridge assessment in your packet is from our bridge consultants. They've done bridge evaluations of all our bridges. This is an item to, or their estimated cost to bring it up to proper standing, so to speak. We weren't planning on doing anything to the bridge for another 2 to 3 years, and then we would phase it in. If it was solely our funding, we'd have to phase it in over a period of 4 to 5 years. And the reason why I say in 2 to 3 years, because it's not critical. I mean, the bridge is not going to fall in. It's still open to traffic, can still sustain the loading and everything. But our priority for bridges repair, the next bridge other than Lake Road, is going to be Federal Street Bridge. And we plan on doing something a little bit later this summer, early fall. As we roll around with the budget, we're going to put some more money into our bridge repairs during the budget process. And then with money we have left over from the Lake Road Bridge, we'll sustain and be able to fund the Federal Street Bridge. This bridge here is still about 2 to 3 years down the road. On page 118 of your packet is a summary of the itemized cost estimates to bring the bridge up to snuff. The ones highlighted in yellow, and I might say that these items of repair work are not interdependent upon the other items of work, so they can be phased. And what we identified was certain items that we could do now with funding that the CPN is helping us with. The agreement in your packet is pretty close and real similar to the agreement that the City Commission approved with the CPN earlier, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when they'd gotten some stimulus funding to mill and overlay Gordon Cooper Street south of the bridge. And I understand that there's this funding is still tied with that portion of the project. There was funds left on the table, so to speak, and they have to spend it along that same Gordon Cooper corridor. That's why we couldn't use the funding that the CPNs are providing us on other bridges. We had to do it along the Gordon Cooper corridor. And although I said the agreement is similar, there is a few items that are different than the ones previously. We, as obligation of the city, is to go ahead and prepare the plans and biddable documents, and we have agreed to do that, and we can do that probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks and give it to the CPN, and they will be the ones letting the project for bids and soliciting the contractor. So the actual contract will be between whoever the successful or low bid is and the CPN, the nation. The item that the CPNs have agreed to also is that the city, in this instance, will provide inspection and oversight on a daily basis. Okay, that'll be our cost. And this is a good thing because that gives us kind of control over the project. Now, without having some sort of leverage or stick over the contractor to get him to do what we would like him to do and, you know, adhere to all the specs, we've got, and part of the agreement also includes that the invoices that the CPN will pay the contractor will need our prior approval. They have agreed to do that also. And that gives us a stick over the contractor, so to speak. So if he doesn't do it right, we don't give approval and the nation doesn't pay him. So it looks like a real good deal for us. It looks like a good deal for the CPN, and we would recommend to approve the agreement.
So this allows us to have an agreement with CPN so that they can spend $625,000 on this bridge.
Right.
And actually do $625,000 worth of improvements 2 or 3 years earlier than what we would have done.
Exactly.
And
what we would bid out, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what we would bid out is items of work, kind of like a rehab concrete street repair, where we're bidding out square yards of Class C deck repair and square yards of Class B deck repair. So we'll have control to not exceed that $625,000 amount.
And it says the final invoice shall be received on or before August 31st, 2012. That's a
Yes, ma'am.
fairly aggressive schedule.
That's pretty quick, and that's why we can prepare the plans and biddable documents within 2 to 3 weeks. The nation does not have to abide by the Oklahoma Competitive Bidding Act, so you know they can streamline it quicker than we would, which is a good thing in this instance because that funding, I believe, has to be remitted back to the feds if not spent before August of this year. So,
And that project can be accomplished by that day.
oh yes, I think so.
Great.
Yes.
I move to approve the agreement.
Second.
All right, a motion to approve the agreement by Commissioner Sims, seconded by Commissioner Winteringer. Any other questions? Call roll, please.
Sims.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Very good. Get going. Okay, item number 11, acknowledge sales tax report received March 2012.
Well, sales tax this month was pretty much flat from last year. We were only at $376. I am going to call the Oklahoma Tax Commission and see if everybody else has been up this last month and the month before. So I'm going to do a little investigation. The March sales tax we received was $1,256,806, and we're just about 0.5% below our projected budget, and we're up 7.8% from March of 2010. So, but I looked at all the other revenues in the last few days, and we're coming in right at target. So should be.
So let us know if you find out anything.
I will as soon as I find out.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Cindy? Item number 12, presentation on municipal pool repair costs. We asked for it, and now we're going to get it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Some of these pictures y'all have seen many a times, and you're going to see them again because we had a $3 million issue out there to make all these repairs, and that got voted down. So now we're going to have to address these issues. We have a 76-year-old pool that's really served us well. It has had some rehab to it back in 1955, 1973, 1980, and the repairs that y'all approved in 2009. The last time the plumbing was reworked was 1955. And I have a picture there of the new filtration system in the basement, and I wanted to thank you all for those repairs because those helped out greatly. But now we have circulation problems, and this is one of them that we fixed. As you can see, down here in the lower left is one of the return lines that is fully clogged with parts of the pipe that have come to pieces underneath the deck. And the upper picture is the holes in the pipe that we found there. And this was one of the problems where we were getting dirt back into the pool. Plus, we were losing a lot of water. And the lower picture is what we had to go through to get to that. Okay, the reality of dealing with these circulation problems, as you can see where my arrows are at, there at the top is the evidence of dirt coming in from underneath the pool deck. And over at the side, we've already vacuumed that in, but those are the two areas that we know we're having problems with getting dirt in there. And what this does is it causes more vacuuming time practically every day. And it also causes loss of water. Where I put the stars on this pool is where we're having our poor circulation. And we know that those areas, that those inlets are clogged. And, you know, it might be easy to say, well, just pull those covers off and pull all that out of there. Well, you got to put those covers back on according to the health inspector. And once you take those covers off, they don't go back on. So what poor circulation does is tell us or have us do more testing on that water in that area just to make sure that the chlorine amounts are up to where they need to be.
Your statement about when you take those off, they don't go back on, is that mechanically they don't go on, or they're not built to take off, or what?
They've been there so long that the screws just don't come out. You end up busting them off. I mean, if you were going to put them back on, it's going to be quite a process there. And we've tried other things that just don't work going back on with them. The kids tend to pull them off throughout the season. So.
And they're full of rocks and dirt and everything,
Well,
like that first one that you showed
not
us.
just rocks and dirt, it's full of the pieces of pipe,
Too.
that have come
Okay.
apart, that have made it down there to the outlet, and now it's just clogged it up.
That's a problem. Okay.
Water loss, as you can see here, an inch of water loss is equal to 77,000 gallons of water. And that's really nothing for an inch of water loss because that's either evaporation or carry out. But by the end of last season, we were putting 4 to 5 inches of water in the pool, which is around 31,000 to 38,000 gallons of water, which requires us to add more chemicals, not to mention the water plant down there creating all that water to go into the pool.
Now, how are we losing water again? Just evaporation?
Not through evaporation, but through the deteriorated pipe underneath the pool deck.
Those pipes that corroded, that the pieces are now.
We're losing water underneath the pool deck that's going somewhere, and it's pushing sand back out into the pool. Which I've already said is higher chemical use because we've got to add more chemical in there, more testing just to make sure that the chlorine levels are up to what the health department wants them to be right there at that end of the pool. And of course, health issues. When the chlorine runs out of the pool, then you're not sanitizing the pool, and diseases can come about. And you know, if they're low, we end up having to shut the pool down, get the chlorine levels back up, and then open it back up.
Do you have to do that during the summer?
Close it down. We haven't. I think last year we may have shut it down for 15 minutes a couple of times to super chlorinate an area.
Because y'all are out there all the time testing it and chlorinating.
Yes, we have to we have to test it quite often, and
Okay.
and them being closed one day a week really helped us out on a lot of that stuff because we were able to really do some super chlorination and cleaning on that pool. So here it is. The no flashing lights, no oohs and ahs, bare minimum if we were to open this pool 2013. This is the cheaper way to go. You know, digging up, cutting out the concrete, digging up the pipes, replacing them, and according to the health department, there's not enough return outlets in the pool anyway. And then replacing all that. This is a stainless steel guttering system where all the piping and returns and everything are included in it. You don't even have to find the pipe. You cut out the top part of the deck and the side wall and put these in there and then just attach it to the building, and that becomes your complete circulation system in it. And that's $280,000.
How many is there of those?
It goes completely around the pool, one solid structure. We have a gutter completely around the pool now. It was just all made out of concrete back in the 30s. This cuts all that out, it places in this stainless steel guttering system with all the piping in it, and then you just attach that back to your pipes coming out of the building, and you're there. Now you go to ADA compliance, which was by March of this year. Every public bathing place was supposed to comply, and this is a 2010 federal standard. And you know, in order to comply didn't mean that you had to have these things put in. It would have been nice to have them put in, but you needed to have a plan in place showing that you were working towards ADA compliance to the pool. Well, we had that plan, and you know, now we've got to come up with a different plan. So when you start rehabbing on that deck, then you do have to come up to compliance. So these lift chairs, according to the standard, if your pool deck has more than 300 linear feet around the perimeter, you must have two means of ADA access. Whether it's zero entry, stairs, lift chairs, transfer walls. Well, our stairs are not ADA compliant. They don't come anywhere close to meeting their standards. So in order to meet those, we'd have to put in two of these ADA chairs, and they're a little over $7,000 a piece. Which brings us to the total of both of those at $294,500. You know, and this just isn't it. I mean, we could start here and open the pool back up the next season, but there's still a lot of other things that we need to think about doing here. Such as the roof, $26,000. The roof leaks now. Removing the decks and replacing those wider where they could accommodate more things in the future that we wanted to put in, whether it was shade, whether it was slides, and widen it enough that we could have an area that families could sit out on the deck in the shade and watch their kids play in the pool. And that would take a retaining wall on the east side because that's all downhill from the pool. So we'd have to bring that up and widen those decks. And that would be widening the decks to a total of 21 foot all the way around except for one area. It would widen it to almost 37 feet back up on the west side of the pool there where those two picnic tables are.
But that's also kind of a safety issue because of all the people that are on the deck right now, and if a lifeguard or someone else has to get through, you're meandering through the chairs and the people and everything.
You got to be careful where you put those lounge chairs because then you only have a foot and a half, maybe two, just to get by those chairs. Okay. Those decks right now are only 10 foot wide. A lounge chair, you know, is a little over 6-7 feet. So. So the cost of that's $86,900. Lighting. If you pull the decks out, the lights have got to come down. And one of the problems they're having now is that they could swim a lot later in the evening times for their family nights and evening swims if they had better lighting that they could see to the bottom of the pool, which this would take care of that. And new fencing, the fencing comes out.
This is going to be more than $3 million by the time it's done.
So you got to replace the fencing around there.
Just bare minimum.
So when you come down to it all, you come up with $527,400. But that's still not all of it. So we may be into the third year of doing some stuff to the pool. But we can't forget about the inside where the food prep area is. That every year we get dinged for something from the health department. So the next year we put something else in there and it just keeps going and going. The bathrooms, we've tried to make the restrooms handicap accessible by pulling the doors off and putting curtains. But we can't do anything with that 4-inch step that's painted yellow getting into the showers that don't have any stalls. And that's the men's room. The women's room is the same thing, except they do have some stalls. So the pool house, we haven't even got into figuring that. I mean, when you start breaking this stuff down, you just can't pull all that out of that $3 million figure because some of this stuff is just all added together. The parks crew each year, like I said, after the health inspection, we know what we need to do. We purchase something, we go in there and fix something every year just to keep complying. So what I haven't mentioned here is that in the next couple of weeks, the state health department's going to be down here with our local health department, and they're going to go through and they're going to do an evaluation on the pool. So we will have a little better idea as to what they're going to want.
Is that a yearly inspection that they do?
No, it's not. We do have a local health inspector that does hit our pool twice a year, takes readings, and gives us ideas of what we need to comply with. I was up at the state health department, talked to them about some of these repairs, and I've talked the same with the local health department, and what he wants to do is go ahead and bring the state health department down here, take a look at it, and make some recommendations or tell us what we ought to be doing. So, I mean, yeah, it is a lot of money. So, you know, we could come up with other ideas of maybe doing away with the pool and maybe putting a splash park in there, and for the same money you could probably put one somewhere else also across town that would accommodate all of town without having to come to one area.
So in a couple of weeks, the state health department's coming in.
Yes.
And before, I guess when they would have come in and found, you know, item 1, item 2, item 3 that need to be repaired, and I'm sure they've done this in the past. That's why we had to develop a master plan for the pool, which said here are the things that can be done, and then we had to put on a capital improvement plan, and then we had to figure out how to fund it, and then we put it on the ballot. Mm-hmm. So we probably bought some time with them because we had all that in place. Does it help that we still have the master plan, but we don't have anything after that right now? Are they going to have a recommendation, or are they going to be looking at us that says $527,000 in 2 years, and then we want to know what you're going to do with the rest of it?
I think they're going to want an ongoing plan.
Okay.
Because,
Okay.
I mean, nothing's really been done to the inside of that building for many years as far as being ADA compliant. You know, I think we're lucky in a sense that we're still able to operate the facility. I think the facility's really outlasted itself. But you know, the reason that we put this on the bond issue or tried to raise some money for it was there was a need there if we're going to keep this facility, to fix it and fix it right, you know, so everybody could enjoy it and it'd be safe. And in my opinion is, after this year, I've probably run it too long the way it is.
there any risk that the health department wouldn't let us open it this year?
That was my next question.
I don't think so. From my understanding, by talking to the local health inspector, is that it would be all right to open this year, but he's going to do a little more extra testing on his own too. You know, in the past, he really hasn't worried about it. We have a good crew that maintains the water in that pool. He'll tell you that day, he tells everybody that he just doesn't have to worry about Shawnee. I'll call him and ask him if he's going to come inspect it because I haven't seen him.
So, do we just need to wait and see what happens in a couple of weeks, or are you looking for some kind of a nod of approval so that you can continue to work with these numbers in this year's budget and next year's? Or you just want us to kind of think about $527,000 and how we might spend that in the next couple of years?
You know, James and I talked about this, and he's done a great job outlining what these costs are for us and for our citizens. You know, we didn't put up a professional recommendation out there, but I think that James and I agree that opening this pool and continuing to open it and spending the dollars that we're spending on it, what we didn't talk about is it's $10,000 or more a summer to put the chemicals in it. It's another $5,000 or more per summer just to turn the lights on in there. And he hasn't even gotten to some of the more costs that are in there, because the inside of that place, those pictures don't really do it justice. You know, I think as part of the bond issue, we knew we'd have it open one more year, and it would take us time to get the new plans engineered and then obtain a contractor and get the work done. But like James said, this pool and this building have reached its lifespan, and we think for probably the money that he's presented this evening, what we're seeing out there is $250,000 for a splash pad that is activated by the citizen that comes along and just pushes a button. Water comes spraying up in it. The kids have a good time in it. When they leave, it goes off, and we don't have any more ongoing maintenance costs to treat or anything. So, you know, we haven't really gotten to the point where we have a recommendation as to what we should do next, but I think during the budget process, we need to seriously think about whether or not we're going to open this pool next year. And if you were asking our recommendation today, the answer would be no. I hope that answers the commissioner's questions. You know, I think it's time to take a different direction.
Yep.
I firmly believe it's our responsibility, just as citizens, to teach kids how to swim. And, you know, I think that's a community obligation. And most of the, you know, there's not a lot of other options without memberships or fees, and that's a concern to me. So I think it's important that we try to figure out the options to take care of our civic responsibility. And to me, splash pads are a wonderful accessory, and I think it's an important thing for our community as well. But I think a public pool is an important asset in our community.
James, how much is a new pool?
New pool?
Yeah.
$3 million.
I thought that was every mall the other.
Well, I mean, the shell of this pool is probably in better condition than anything. The pool house would have to be pretty much torn down. You know, we could keep, you know, the front wall or whatever and just redo everything else to keep the historical value. I haven't even looked at the cost of digging a new hole and pouring some concrete.
Well, surely one could be built within that, the pool itself.
You could pour another shell within that, probably cheaper than digging a hole, or reconfigure that one or whatever.
And the plan with the $3 million was to include?
The $3 million plan was to include a lot of other things. a slide, some spray features, a spray pad out
Zero
front.
depth entry.
Zero depth entry. I mean, it would have brought it up to where it could compete with just about anybody's municipal pool, I think.
So it's either time for this community to consider alternative water activities or joining, maybe some entities joining together to provide some of those activities. Some of that conversation is starting to happen. I don't know where it's going to take us. So far, none of it is in the downtown area. I'll just say that. So far, it's not in the area where this pool is. Are you still looking or working with some other entities to see if there's another alternative to swim lessons, period? I mean, if that's all we had, if we didn't have a pool ourselves, but the money could be used for swim lessons.
Yeah, one of the things that we've just kind of talked about as a staff is, you know, the YMCA runs the pool for us. They're obviously more prepared to hire and train lifeguards than we are, and so they run this pool every year, and they do go into the red every year running it. You know, it varies from year to year. The first year it was probably, since I've been here, probably $25,000 or more. Last year it was probably in the $15,000 to $20,000 raise because we've changed the rate structure for the kids that go out there. But one of the things that we thought about doing is taking the dollars that we would use for electricity and the chemicals and other repairs out here and maybe creating some sort of scholarship situation with the YMCA where, you know, the kids that need to have access to a pool that wouldn't otherwise to learn how to swim, you know, maybe give the YMCA that money through our contract review process or something along those lines. Still early preliminary discussions on that, but certainly an option.
First of all, we haven't passed this season to worry about it. Because I assume that you're saying that we'll have the pool open this season, so we've got till September, October, November of next year to make some kind of decision. We'll know about our street projects and some of our other projects at that time, so I'm not in any big hurry to get out and make a bunch of decisions myself until we see what some other things that
Well, one of the problems I got is I got budget coming up, and you know.
But we've got budgets not cast in stone and chiseled out in rock, so it can be changed and items moved around. So we can work through that, and that's what I was saying about the $75,000 toward the portable stage. Is that some of this money that we're obligated or budgeted, we don't need to be spending because we might want to put part of it on this. And I probably think your figures, some of them are probably pretty conservative, and so I'm not sure you can do what you say you can do for the $5.25 million or $525,000 or whatever it is, $530,000. But I still think that it can be taken, you know, in phases. I'm not sure it has to all be done at the same time.
And I'm just saying that the community needs to start thinking about some alternatives, and it'll be here before we know it. We don't have to do anything for this year, but it's coming around
Well, I
soon.
think a lot of people would have liked to have been able to have supported the pool, but the way the whole package was put together, they wasn't going to do it. So I think that the pool is still a possibility some months down the road. But the way the whole package was put together, people weren't going to support it.
And is it correct, or is my memory right, that we served about 10,000 swimmers during the course of the season last year? Do you remember that?
I haven't looked at those figures, but I'm thinking that it was one of the bigger seasons that we had.
So we had 10,000 swimmers. I mean, many of those are repeat, but significant use over that 100 and odd days.
How many hot dog days and so forth did you have down at John? Remember last year?
I forgot to count.
You didn't have it last year?
The year before we did. I think it was last year, was it? That we did 2 years ago.
Two years ago, we had a big turnout, but the year, last year, we didn't have a very big turnout.
Thanks for that information. Okay, item 13, new business.
Madam Mayor, I'm not aware of any new business this evening.
Okay, item 14, administrative reports.
Madam Mayor, no administrative reports this evening.
Wow. Item 15, commissioners' comments.
On our alarm licensing and so forth, and residence, commercial, are we keeping up with our people renewing, or what's the situation on that, Justin?
I believe we are. I can update the commission next meeting with our actual figures. But we do have an automated system that will, and you're right, the 1-year renewal is upon a lot of folks now this time of year. So,
Are we gonna notify people, or they just have to remember it, or what?
we don't necessarily have a mechanism. Oh, you mean for the people that have already? I'm sorry, I thought you meant for people that aren't registered. Yes, for those people that are registered, they get a renewal notice.
Okay. Is that commercial and residential both?
I believe so. I will check first thing tomorrow morning though, and I'll give you a
Did
call.
residential just start in January? 6 months ago, commercial started.
We had,
Am I
I think
way
the
off?
dates. I think one was July 1st and then
November or January, okay.
Well, I sure don't want mine to lapse, because when the phone rings, I want, when my company calls, I want somebody there, so I wanna make sure mine don't lapse.
Notifying. Anything else?
We had talked about, after a period of time, having some community roundtables. Where are we on that?
Was going to talk generally about those under an agenda item that addressed the yield study, which we'll be talking about in SMA, because that turned out to be an SMA project. Commissioners asked for me to start looking at that after about a month. It's about time I'll get my secretary to call and we'll get those scheduled.
Very good.
On the commissioner award maps, the ones that designate 1, 2, 3, is that coming up to redo that with the census report? Is that right?
Yes, sir. We're waiting for the census block data to come in. Justin, I don't know exactly when. We're April, it seems to me like it.
Is it gonna be before April 11th, 12th, and 13th?
Well, you don't.
No.
Okay.
You won't have time
All
to
right.
redo those before then, and yeah.
The current ward banners will remain for the upcoming election, and then the election after that will have the updated.
Right.
Looking at those things, it needs to be simplified a little bit more. There's some strange stuff all over that thing. It'd be easier for people to explain
Make those lines straighter?
where their commissioner's at and be able to explain where your commissioner at.
Having done that several times, it's pretty darn tough to do
It
that.
is. It's
Because you need a block or a half a block or something else to make it, the population balance out.
It's
So I-
not all up to us.
Yeah.
We have to go through review of that so that we're not disenfranchising a particular race or a particular group of people. So they'll probably always have some sort of quirkiness to them. But some of the other areas in our community are doing it. But we're such a densely populated area. We need to have the census block group information so that we can make those determinations. So.
It's pretty tough to follow that map.
Anything
I've got
else?
another comment. OBU is playing in the semifinals, I think, tonight at 9. And if they win, they're going to the national championship
Again.
tomorrow night.
Wow.
Men's basketball.
Very good.
I'll be leaving at about noon if they win.
Tonight?
Tonight, yes. I'm leaving.
Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, good for you. We have a ribbon cutting at the library on Thursday at 4:30. 4:30, okay, for the new computer lab. Is that correct? Okay. And then, do you have something?
Well, there's whoever's, I don't know who the department is that's running around unstopping drains today, but I saw men in trucks, like I said, unstopping the so the water could get off the streets. And well, we've got a major problem over on Independence by Ace Hardware and the railroad track, because that got about 5 foot deep in there, I think. I didn't try to drive through it, I went around, so.
Noticed they were replacing some pretty major culvert under the tracks, it looked like.
No, they've
So
opened
that
that,
may be
opened
part
it
of
up. They opened it up for you, John.
Kind of to piggyback on one of the things that Frank said, I just want to let everybody know that there have been some community meetings or some meetings with community members about continuing to make progress in this community, and I think it probably would be appropriate to schedule our public meeting so that we can have that input also as some of these community leaders continue to talk about how to move this community forward. So, good timing.
The swimming pool, that'd be a great subject to talk about how to fix the swimming pool and how to come up with funding to fix the pool. That would be a great conversation.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
Okay.
that's probably one item that would probably have passed, but the way it was all tied together and the amounts and everything else, it's hard to separate out, so it's much easier to just vote no than it was to try to educate everybody on how to, you know, which one was what, so that's what happened to you.
All right, anything else? Item 16, consider an executive session to discuss status of ULP's PERB case numbers 496 and 499 and collective bargaining agreement with the IUPA Local Number 3 for fiscal year 2011-2012 and fiscal year 2012-2013 as authorized by 25 OS 307B2.
Before you do that, did you want to recess? Yeah.
Can we go to the SMA and?
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
I've been prepaid my nickel.
Oh. You forgot to give it to the person reading the agenda
Yes, I know. I'm
items.
gonna share it if we're here with you.
Okay, I'll split it with you. Okay, so we will recess and go to SMA. Open the meeting for the Shawnee Municipal Authority, March 19th, 2012. We have a quorum. Item number 1, consider approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
All right. Motion to approve by Commissioner Sims.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Collier. Call roll, please.
Sims.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 2, consider setting meeting for presentation of water yield study.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had originally made some pretty close progress to doing this on the 26th. The yield study's been something that the commission actually authorized back in 2007, and I think it was a 16-month project, and I think we're on month 20 now, and I apologize for that. We just found some other errors that we needed to get cleared up this week, but we'd like for commissioners to look at the week after our April 2nd meeting, that Monday night. Hopefully we'll have this document in the next few days, and if that works out for everyone's schedule, we will call a special work session for that night, because I think it's important to spend some time where you're in a session that you're not voting, that you can really look at the data and understand it. So
you're talking about the 9th, is that what you said?
yes.
Sounds good to me if you're waiting for comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that give you enough time to have your other questions answered and have it ready for us? Okay.
I think you guys need some
Let's get on
time
with it.
to look at it, read it over, and then CDM will be here to actually present it to you and talk about all the things that are about it.
So are we going to get it before the 9th?
Yes. You'll hopefully
We get it
have
before the 6th, so.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have more than a few days, because it's probably lengthy. Yeah, that's, okay, okay, all right. Guess that means set it up or have Cindy
I'll have Cindy contact you, but I think you
call a
could just
special
pencil it
meeting.
in.
Since
for
we
the
have
9th.
two, okay, since we have 2 missing. Yeah. Is that considered a work session?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be no, it'll be just for discussion and presentation only.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that? Item number 3, new business.
Madam Mayor, no new business this evening.
Consider bids first. Okay, item number 4, consider bids. Airport Sanitary Sewer Lift Station Rehab Project number COS-SMA-1205, award.
Yay, rain.
Yeah.
After reviewing the bids and taking reference, the staff recommends awarding the project to Slattery Construction of Woodward, Oklahoma in the amount of $139,918.
Yep. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Sims.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Harrod. Call roll, please.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item
Before
num-
we go any further, I had in my notes to congratulate the chief on the panhandlers. I've made
Yeah.
3 trips out there, chief, and I hadn't seen a one.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate it.
It's working. Yep. Item number 5, administrative reports.
No administrative reports this evening.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Collier, seconded by Commissioner Sims. Call roll, please.
Collier.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will move to the Shawnee Airport Authority meeting, March 19th, 2012. We have a quorum. Item number 1 is consider approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Vice Mayor Collier, seconded by Commissioner Sims. You got that, Donna?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to speak slowly so you can get caught up. Okay. Call roll, please.
Collier.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2, new business.
Madam Mayor, no new business or administrative reports this evening.
All right, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner
To
Winteringer,
adjourn.
seconded by
Second.
Vice Mayor Collier. Call roll, please.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go back to the Shawnee City Commission meeting, item number 16, which I read before. Anybody care to go into executive session, and do we still need to?
So moved.
All right, a motion by Vice Mayor Collier to go into executive session.
Second.
Second by
Go into
Commissioner
executive session.
Winteringer. Call roll, please. Collier and then
Collier.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Okay.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will go, are we going to your office or
We could
downstairs?
probably
Session regarding status of ULPs, PERB case numbers 496 and 499, and collective bargaining agreement with the IUPA Local Number 3 for fiscal year 2011-2012 and fiscal year 2012-2013, as authorized by 25 OS 307B2.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding to dismiss the ULPs.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Collier to approve an MOU to dismiss the ULPs. Okay?
Second.
And then a second by Commissioner Sims. Anything else? Questions? Call roll, please.
Collier.
Aye.
Sims.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, motion to
Second.
adjourn by Commissioner Sims, second by Commissioner Winteringer. Call roll, please.
Sims.
Aye.
Winteringer.
Aye.
Harrod.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Collier.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
The water, Don.
We are adjourned.
6 foot high rise.
Yeah.